I just want to go over a recap of an interview that was done yesterday with the head of Microsoft Flight Sim. His name is George Newman, the CEO of Asobo and the co-founder of Asobo, Sebastian Wallach, the lead software engineer from Asobo, Martial Broussard. So they have some good insights on what's coming up for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it's has some of the top takeaways. And I really want to get through this quick. There was an hour-long interview. If you want to watch the interview, it will be in the link below, and or in the comment section below. The link will be in the comment section below, and you can take a look at the whole thing. So there's a lot of interesting updates and things that are be coming down, but I just want to kind of go through them real quick, point by point. And that way you can kind of maybe save some time. But if you want to watch the whole thing, the link will be in the comment section below. So just kind of go point by point. There were several things that they talked about. And we just go, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 on that. So, one of the questions was, will they continue to need beta testers going forward? The answer to that question is yes, they're going to need beta testers going forward. Whether or not they're going to recruit more beta testers or not, they didn't really say specifically about that, but they're going to be adding more content and then more, things that can be done within the sim. So they did say that they would continue to need beta testers to test that stuff out. How they're going to roll that out, I'm not sure. They just didn't say specifically about that. So one of the other questions in there pretty much was is it a game or is it a sim? And really the simple answer to that is it's both. It's the thing about Flight Simulator, it's easy to get into, it's hard to master. Being a pilot takes a lot of different pieces put together. So really they answered that question as a game or sim. My general overall takeaway though was that it's actually a sim, would be the way I kind of took it. So they kind of answered on the question a little bit about whether it's a game or a sim, but it seemed like it's more sim than game. They talked about the level of detail on the aircrafts and whether or not they would go into a deep dive onto the aircrafts. But George Newman, who was the lead person on the head of the Microsoft flight, his explanation was that the way they wanted to approach it was not so much going super deep into the detail, each little item on each different aircraft. They made them very detailed. They spent a lot of time on them, but they felt like that some of the third-party providers would be better suited to provide the very most up-to-date, most realistic type of aircraft. So they provided aircraft for us to use, but they wanted to go a little bit broader. They want to focus their attention more on expanding the flight simulator and doing different things within the sim rather than focusing in on aircraft. So their answer was to that, they went broad, provided functional aircraft, and they'll let the third-party developers handle the rest, which is good for third-party developers. So PMDG, A2A, Aerosoft, all those guys, they're going to be doing their thing. In regards to the accuracy of the aircraft, so they provide all the technical data, and really as of the release date, there is going to be no tweaking of aircraft. So it's a little disappointing, but yeah, the flight dynamics and the modeling of the aircraft are fixed the way that they are. It's something that they're going to be, rolling out, and they will be doing updating and patching as they go along. So one of the other questions was, will there be like a career mode or, something like a flight sim world or FS passenger, something like that, where you can, start as a student pilot and then, work your way up to airline pilot. They kind of squashed that right away. Again, this kind of goes back to whether it's a game or a sim. So they squashed that and just said it's a sim and it's for the joy of flying throughout the world and to do it in a realistic way. And they didn't rule it out altogether, but they really put it on the back burner. And, you know, it's kind of one of those answers where, like, no, I don't know what else to say. They're not going to, I don't think that that's really on the front burner or something they're even going to consider. I guess ultimately they said that if it gets to be bubbled up, you know, it becomes an issue that someone will look into, but I wouldn't expect that anytime soon. Again, third-party developers would make sense, you know, like the FS Passengers, that sort of stuff was out there for FSX. So, you know, maybe those people can do something. That would be great. I mean, I use FS Passengers, so it's pretty cool. It's nice kind of have that part of it, but it's a sim. Another question was libraries for the different aircraft that are going to be in the sim. There are going to be updated libraries in the sim. They're working on licensing agreements with the different companies. They have sent out requests for licensing. They just haven't gotten everything back yet. So they are working on that. So Seb talked about user feedback. So I found this really interesting. So the sim is going to be updated very regularly. But one thing they talked about was areas where they don't have good satellite imagery, where Black Shark is not able to, you know, make much of an image and then reconstruct it, you know, in the AI. So they did talk about user feedback and what they're gonna, I guess in some way, they're gonna have some sort of feedback, maybe a forum or some sort of, you know, direct way of getting them information. But they were pretty adamant about providing like pictures and photos of different parts of the world. And that was reinforced by George. Again, he's the head of Microsoft Flight. And so they just said, hey, you know, if you have an area that doesn't look right and we're not getting it right, that that you could send in pictures and then they'll go ahead and see about, you know, getting the changes made to the scenery and then update it so they again provide the most accurate simulation that's available. Seasons were also addressed. Now, seasons are, so they're kind of in there already, right? I mean, you're going to have rain, you're going to have snow, you're going to have, you know, sun. But what they did is they did a little bit of a hybrid approach because it was a little bit of a late, like a late development item for them. So basically you could have snow, which was the top, like that was the top request, is to have snow. So they do have snow. They're going to be ultimately having changing seasons. They did confirm that. And, you know, that would be things like the trees changing color and then potentially, you know, some of the wildlife that's included in there migrating in different directions, stuff like that. So they are working on that, and that is going to be coming down the road as well. Special effects are also another item that they talked about. Again, Marcel, who is the lead software developer at Asobo, said that is one of the first update that's going to drop. So he didn't say exactly what would be in that, but it would be coming soon. So things like tire smoke, contrails, that sort of thing. I don't know about, personally, I want to see some sort of level of crash dynamic. You know, if you land too hard and you break the landing gear, that should be in the sim, in my opinion. Or if you hit a bird, you know, that should, I don't know, that might be a little gory, but that should be in the sim also. Shared cockpit is going to be a part of the sim, just not right away. And I'm just kind of buzzing through some of the questions. So I don't want to take too much of your time. Again, you can watch the full video below. Patches and updates will generally be rolled out once a month, roughly. There'll be two different types of updates. One is going to be called world updates, and the other one will be sim updates. So the world updates are going to be done by regions. As the Bing map updates monthly, then they're going to go ahead and update that area and then update the airports with handcrafting airports. So that stuff will be added in automatically. Sim updates will be changes to the sim itself, I guess, in the way it functions, like maybe like seasons, for example. So those will be coming as well. But like I said, those will come out once a month roughly. And then they also mentioned they would have long-term updates, which would be, more on like a yearly basis or a longer-term type basis. It would be, big update to the whole thing. And Seb explained the differences between handcrafted airports and default airports. Essentially, just because it's not handcrafted doesn't mean that the airport and buildings are missing. They just aren't exactly perfectly like a photoreal airport. So, they're using the Black Shark AI, and then of course Black Shark is recreating that from the information that's available through the satellite. The handcrafted, they're actually software engineers that went and handcrafted those airports. So they're a little bit different, but everything is supposed to be accurate as far as the actual airports themselves go. And they did all, whatever, 37,000 or whatever. Plus they mentioned that there's going to be, of course, if there's a place on the satellite map where there's a grass strip in some farm in Iowa, then you'll be able to use that too. It just won't be exact if there's not some sort of data available. So, but all of the regular airports are represented, and then, that information will be available. So someone asked whether the plane should be able to be modded. You won't be able to unilaterally change the way the planes function. They did mention you can change the liveries, which that's decent. I don't know why we need to make and they kind of mentioned like a rocket ship plane, but they just didn't feel like that was something that was going to be available. So I know some of the beta testers, or whichever ones, use autopilot pretty frequently. They are working on that. Autopilot is a work in progress. It's not a simple fix overall because each plane's autopilot is different, functions differently. So they have to work on them individually, and planes behave differently. So they have, I guess they patched it and they fixed it. They're still working on it. Clouds and weather will be updated and improved going forward. And one of the other questions was, will you be able to open the aircraft doors, which I kind of like personally. Basically, their answer was no. So I guess we're out of luck on doors opening. Didn't sound like it was a priority again. I think it was just one of those things they just kind of shuffled off. If it becomes a huge priority and people want it, then they'll look at it. Look into changing it. And then finally, how soon will the Xbox version be released? And that was kind of a blank question. So they didn't have an answer. There is no significant date for that, and there's still a lot of work to be done on the Xbox version. So there is no release date for Xbox. So if you're an Xboxer and you want to play Flight Sim, you're going to have to do it on your PC. That's the way it's going to work. All right, so that's it. Again, the link to the full interview is below. These guys are going to be doing these once a month. So I'm going to update once a month. Again, please subscribe. That'd be great. I'll update on these interviews once a month, but I'll be putting updates, for Flight Sim coming up. We're going to be doing that. That's next week. I'm very excited about that. Please subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. My name is Alan, and you guys have a great day.